Hey, what's up? Zach here, and today I've got the all-new Li-Ning JB3. Let's get into them. And thanks to Kickzone for sending me a pair of these. Check out if you want to check out a pair for yourself. I'll leave a link to them in the description below. All right, so it's no secret, I absolutely loved the JB2 and was really hoping the JB3 would be more of the same. In a lot of ways, it is. There are some things about it you got to watch out for, but all in all, there's just some really awesome things in these shoes. Now, starting off in the uppers, the one thing I love is the integrated lace eyelets. It's that integrated cuff lace eyelet system, which means the cuffs of the eyelets are made from the body of the uppers. So you get a really fantastic lockdown, even for a shoe that does not have a runner's knot. It is reinforced with metal in the last eyelet stay. I would say heel slippage is mild in these. Whether you have an orthotic in them or not really did not change. And honestly, the shoe feels just like really tuned when you do have an orthotic in it. So like I said, they fit it just fine. Now, as you go through the body of the uppers on the outside, it kind of reminds me of an Asics shoe with all this polyurethane, but then what it builds on from that polyurethane on the periphery is in the central portion, the vamp of the shoe going into the tongue, you get stitched synthetic leather, which a lot of stitching in it, so it's pretty strong. And then like a canvas tongue, which on the underside is just really soft fabric. It does have a decent amount of padding in the more proximal tongue. The rest of the tongue really doesn't have any padding at all, but because it's those cuffed lace eyelets, the lace is just lace so nice, you really don't get any lace irritation. So really put some more premium elements in there, as well as just a little bit more kind of rugged containing and durability elements. Now, as you go into the rear foot, this one's got real fuzzy material in the ankle collar. I'm assuming it's partially just the colorway. I'm thinking different colorways probably have different material, but my guess is on most of the colorways, it's some form of more premium, soft material back there. That probably is gonna hold on to a little bit more heat though. It is padded enough around the ankle collar, and then you do get an internal as well as external heel counter on these things. So I mean, it's not going anywhere, right? There is a lot of stability. The thing is, you look at it on the thermal imaging, and remember, I'm now taking simultaneous readings with my new imaging camera, so these readings are gonna be a little bit different. It does heat up 100.3 degrees, which anymore is kind of just middle of the road. And it does have a pretty thick gusset. The gusset doesn't go up too high, but it is a pretty strong, thick gusset. The thing is that underside backing of these, it just breathes well enough. It just gets rid of heat well enough. I mean, obviously, you're trapping the most heat in the central portion of the shoe, and the rear foot's gonna trap a little bit of heat there too. You look at it on the breathability mapping, you can kind of see fog is really not getting out of anywhere in these things besides kind of the more proximal portion of the ankle collar. So they are going to hold on to some moisture for sure, more in the ankle collar than anything. But for what they are, how rugged the uppers are, how containing the uppers are, I actually thought that was pretty good, to be honest. Look at this thing on the upper durability test, 10 seconds highest grit sandpaper, you kind of see what I mean. The burr just barely makes any impression on that polyurethane. You do have some exposed light foam plus there, so that's going to get worked a little bit, but the integrity of the uppers should be there. So really, in terms of containment, in terms of, honestly, you know, comfort, right? It does take a minute to break these in just because there's a lot of material. But once you do break them in, you are getting a nice combination of more rugged performance as well as decent comfort. All right, but getting into the midsole teardown, this foam setup is becoming one of my favorites. And that is a slab of boom foam all the way from the rear foot into the forefoot, but then carried on the underside of it, the plantar side inferiorly, by Light Foam Plus. And that boom foam is super critical Pebex. Then the Light Foam Plus is Olefin copolymers and EVA. And you know, it's stable, but it's also really responsive. You know, it just kind of gives the best of both worlds. I feel like that combination it's sturdy, but it's also it's not super bottom heavy, right? It just really gives a nice profile. And then you do get a carbon fiber shank that is sandwiched going from the midfoot all the way into the forefoot. It's actually half diamond shape, right? It comes to a point in the middle of the shank and the midfoot, so there actually is a little bit of shape to this, which I thought was pretty interesting. Does that really add anything when you're moving through a gait cycle? I mean, maybe to me, it's a little bit more window dressing, but it is cool to see that it's actually molded carbon fiber. That means it is a little bit of a stronger, thicker carbon fiber. So that is nice. Look at this thing on the bounce height test. 43 centimeters in the rear foot, shocker, 43 in the forefoot. You're mostly getting the influence of the boom foam. But like I said, the leaflet into the forefoot with the carbon fiber, the Light Foam plus the boom foam, it is a pretty darn explosive shoe I found when I had an orthotic in there. it really kind of took that up a notch because there's such a stable base for that orthotic to sit on. So yeah, really, if you're putting an orthotic in these or not, it is a very, very responsive shoe while also being really, really stable. All right, but getting into the outsole tread, this is decoupled tread pods, one on the rear foot and forefoot, basically of just the Jimmy Butler logo, just proving that it doesn't really matter what the traction is as long as it's multi-directional. It is a very, very shallow tread pattern. I mean, barely a millimeter there. The thing is with, you know, Li-Ning's new outsole compounds they're making, does it really matter? No, not really. I mean, durometer only comes in at 16.5. Look at this thing on the grip test ramp. It doesn't slip till 44 degrees. These things definitely have some outstanding static grip. Not only do you have a lot of surface area that's contacting the ground, but that outsole tread compound is pretty darn tacky. Now these do have, I'd say, mild dust pickup. I mean, it took a while for me to have any forgiveness at all underfoot, and even at that, just a quick wipe down because there's, you know, it's so flat to the ground, it is pretty easy. So in terms of dust, it is really manageable. And like these things on the speed ratio coming in at 3.01, shank score of 0.25 brings it up to a 3.26. I think that's exactly where they belong. These things are wicked quick. Not only front to back going coast to coast, but going side to side. You see, you have a little bit of a TPU bar here on the lateral flange, and that's all well and good. It kind of makes the lateral flange look a little bit bigger than it is, and the inflare of the shoe makes the lateral flange look a little bit bigger than it is, but it is also just a super stable shoe, right? So the stopping power in it it's fantastic. So really, in terms of side to side speed, just quick off the block speed, you know, north to south speed, right, coast to coast speed. Honestly, you really can't go wrong with these. These are one of the faster shoes on the market for sure. Like these things on the outsole durability test, 10 seconds highest grit sandpaper. The burr basically just cleans the tread off. There is some texture to this tread, so you're gonna lose a little bit of that, but otherwise it's, like I said, it resists wear pretty darn good. I'd say still, best surfaces for these are indoor hardwood and vinyl surfaces. You can take these outside. Like I said, with these new outsole compounds, they will resist outdoor courts a little bit better than predecessors, but it is still a more flat tread profile. The good thing is there's a lot of surface area, so you're gonna share the load. You know, these things roll from step to step pretty easily because, like I said, the tread is pretty flat. So just like the ergonomics of the shoe help with that. Like I said, you're still gonna scuff them up a little bit for sure, but in terms of a shoe with this kind of profile, it's better than you would think it would be. All right, but getting into the fit of the JB3, this is where you're gonna have to pay the piper. Number one, it's got an 18-degree inflare in the forefoot. It's got a 3-degree inflare in the rear foot. This thing is swooped in. It's why they feel pretty fast, why they transition step so easily, right? But if you don't match up with that inflare, that might be an issue. In terms of their resting eversion, in terms of resting position, 0 degrees of eversion, loaded, 0 degrees of eversion. Really didn't think that was gonna be any different. These things are really stable shoes. They come in at 28.8 centimeters of length, 9.8 centimeters metatarsal width, and only 10.6 of toe box width, and a toe box taper of only 25 degrees. So once again, none of these shoes recently, I had a few of these recently, where the numbers just are kind of odd. Right, you get a lot of metatarsal width, but then it actually does taper a little bit more from the metatarsals into the toes. Then the toe box itself is not super tapered. So I'd say, you know, a narrow medium foot and a 2E, I think, can still just go true to size. I went true to size. I was just fine. I had no issues. I thought I might have some with this TPU, but it's pretty flexible, and a 4E would probably be going up 1/2 size on these things. You can probably break them in at true to size at a 4E, but you're gonna come up against this TPU bar, so that might be a little bit of an issue. So probably go up 1/2 size. The thing is, if you don't match the inflare, right, if you're a more outflared foot, you're more straight lacet of a foot, that's when I would start going up 1/2 sizes in these, because if you don't match up with that inflare, a lot like the 361 Joker shoes, those inflares, you're gonna have to go. So a 2E, if you don't match the inflare of the shoe, I'd be going up that 1/2 size. Even a medium, if you're really outflared, right, then you might want to consider going up 1/2 size in these just so you can get into that inflare. Like I said, the numbers of the metatarsals are fine. It's just the metatarsals up, it starts to get a little bit wonky, but I think for most people, going true to size probably should be okay, just like I said, because it is quite a bit of room in there. In terms of people, I recommend these for in my office, you know, snake bites, thumb swamps, things like that. You know, unless you're a more outflared foot, right, unless you just bang up against the shoe, I don't see a lot of fault in these. In terms of the type of players that can use these, heavier players, lighter players, you're looking for side to side speed, people looking for north to south speed, you know, people with heel pain, ball of foot pain, tendonitis, arch pain, shin splints, really anything. It's because of the combination of the foams. Yeah, the carbon fiber shank and the fact that it goes into the forefoot, yeah, it's gonna protect the forefoot because it's sandwiched, it's not, it's not top loaded. That's great, and that's all well and good. But like I said, it's that foam setup. It's that, top loaded boom and bottom loaded light foam plus that really makes the shoe, number one, not super bottom heavy, so you're not dragging it right your tibialis anterior and doing a ton of work, but it's also giving quite a bit back. And then like the shock absorption is also pretty darn, because light foam plus has really good shock absorbing capabilities. So it's just one of those shoes where, like the JB2, there's just not a lot wrong with it. It really reminds me of the new Klay Thompsons. Like, it's hard to find a lot of faults in them. Most people are going, most people can find something in them that is just like, not just like, but love. And really, yeah, no different for me than JB2, the JB3. Once again, definitely a top shoe this year. And yeah, honestly, pretty cool looking shoe too. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about the JB3 in the comments down below. Are you going for them? Or are you passing? Kind of what did you think from the 2 to 3s? Let me know down below. And if you do want to see another shoe with just some really wicked quick speed, kind of a surprising shoe, honestly, for what the name implies, the 361 Team Joker, if you want to see that one going to the knife, make sure you click into this video up above and subscribe down below. Respect, rubber, and foam, and apparently the Warriors with Jimmy Butler. See you in the next one.